Good Tuesday morning, Market Chameleons, and everyone joining us for the first time. Thanks for coming by and checking out our early edition of the pre-market webinar series. Before we get started, let's take a look at the share disclaimer. Be aware that neither Market Chameleon, Dimitri, or myself are registered investment advisors or a broker-dealer. If you're searching for investment advice, please reach out to a licensed professional. This show, as all our shows, is for informational purposes only concerning Market Chameleon tools and products. With that, D, good early morning. We are starting 15 minutes early because I have to run for an emergency dental appointment at 9:15. So we will be finishing our half hour, starting early, 8:45, finishing at 9:15 or earlier.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, D. Thanks for doing this.
Yep. So good morning, everyone. I'm going to share my screen here. And today we're going to cover our pre-market, our stock pre-market screener. I had a question come over in the morning, and it was in regards to how to screen for stocks in the pre-market using different conditions. So let's just cover that today. And to go on this page, to find this page, we could go under the stocks here, and you'll see these pre-market trading tab item. If you click on it, you will see this view pop up, which is a summary of what's going on in pre-market hours. But we're going to use this tab right here, screener. So you can see across you have these 4 different tabs. And when you click on this screener, you come to a data table with filters above. And here it allows you to screen for stocks that have pre-market trading activity. And you could use the filters above to narrow down your search to a small group of stocks that you might be interested in analyzing or look for, different opportunities. And we're going to just cover today what the analytics and data elements in this table mean, and we'll do some sample screens. So let's go from left to right. You could see the first column, it's the stock symbol. So you have a stock symbol here. The next, you see a stock price. So this is the stock price that it's trading at in the pre-market hours. And next to it, you see a percent change. And that percent change references the previous day's close to where it's trading in the pre-market hours. So this stock here is up 55% in pre-market hours. Next to it, you have the low and high price the prior day. Okay, so this gives us an indication what was the price range the stock traded the day before relative to where it's trading today. Did it break out of that range? So for example, if it traded between $55 and $57, let's say yesterday. So it had a $2 range. If it's trading $56, it's even in the pre-market. It could be up a little bit, down a little bit, but it's within the previous day's range. If it's above or below it, this will be easy to detect, meaning, it broke out of its previous day's range. So you could see here, this particular stock had a huge range yesterday between $1.88 and $7.35. It's trading at $9.96, indicating that even though it's up 55%, let me see here. If we open this little informational sheet, you could see yesterday it closed at $6.42, but it was up 258% yesterday. And now it's trading $9.96, so that's above yesterday's high price. Okay, so that's the 2 reference prices over here. Then we have these pre-market VWAP stats. So the VWAP stats smooth out the prices a little bit, and what they will do is, instead of just looking at a high price, low price, or last price, which could be a trade with very little volume. Okay. So when you have pre-market activity, we know that there's less liquidity in the pre-market hours, and we could be looking at a trade that only represents 100 shares. So if a high print or low print happens on a very low volume, well, maybe the stock isn't really there, just kind of like traded because of the wide markets, low liquidity. So we'll use VWAP prices, which are volume weighted average prices, to smooth that out. So here, the VWAP, $10.85. This represents the volume weighted average price of all the trades in the pre-market. So if we took the trade price, multiplied it by the volume, the number of shares that traded at that price, summed them all up, divided them up by the volume, then you get this VWAP price. So here we see that the volume weighted average price in the pre-market is $10.85. And this is the volume so far in the pre-market, 23,700,000 shares. So now we got this VWAP price. We could also compare it to where is the current price relative to that VWAP. Are we above it, below it? How much is it moving around it? Because you have a VWAP price, but you could have the stock moving above, below. There probably is like a certain standard deviation around it. So where is it now? Well, this 996 is 8.2% below the VWAP price. Okay. So I think it changed here. Like if we refresh it, but when I brought this up, it's now $10.25. So these, keep in mind, these aren't moving prices. This is the last time you refreshed them. So that gives us an indication where the price is relative to that VWAP. In addition, what is the range in the pre-market? This is the range that the stock traded yesterday. Okay. What about the range it's trading in the pre-market high-low? So then we have this 729 and 1443. Now keep in mind, these are also VWAP prices. So to smooth out potential outliers, we take a 1 minute VWAP. So all these prices here, VWAP table, it has to be at least 1 minute. Right. So this low price is a 1 minute VWAP, $7.29. It could have been 100 shares, but we're looking at least minute by minute. So the range is $7.29, $14.43, very wide. You could see it's extremely volatile stock. Besides being up 55%, you could see the range. It's traded yesterday, the range today, extremely volatile. So we see it's trading 23 million shares in the pre-market hours over here. How does that compare to its average daily volume? Because for some stocks, maybe 23 million is normal. For others, it's, completely abnormal to trade that many shares in the pre-market hours. So looking at in the last 20 days over here, these are some of the stats. Based on the last 20-day pre-market trading volume, the average daily volume is 310,000. So if we take today's volume, 23 million, divided by 310,000, you could see that on a relative basis, that's 76 times more than its average daily volume. So huge difference, much higher trading volume in a pre-market hours. So that's a relative value. We also want to see, well, what is the market cap of these stocks? Sometimes low cap stocks, high cap stocks, mid cap stocks. These are showing us the total market cap of the stocks, and you can see the 113 million market cap is a low cap stock. It's very considered a low cap, small cap stock. When we also look at these stocks and we want to get a sense of, the trading volume relative to the number of shares out there. So how many shares are out there, and how many shares are trading hands? How active is it on a relative basis? So here we see that shares outstanding, total number of shares outstanding, 18 million. Well, if we have 18 million shares outstanding and there's total trading volume of 23 million, that volume is substantial, right? So it's a huge amount of volume relative to just the number of shares outstanding. That's a big turnover. We're not talking about a small percentage of the shares outstanding. This is already exceeds the amount of shares outstanding. 23 million versus 18 million shares outstanding. And if we have the float, we'll list it here. This one doesn't have the float out there. Those are shares available to be traded. But if we did, that would be out there too. Gives you a sense of, the magnitude, the sheer magnitude of the volume on a relative basis, besides just the daily trading volume in a pre-market, just relative to the volume outstanding. And when we detect any press releases, news will list it here. Just for quick reference, of course, you could start looking it up yourself as well. You should be doing that, but if we detect a press release, we'll put the headline there so you could click on it and see what's going on. Now, there's another tab here, pre-market breakouts. And some people like to screen for this, and this was by request. And when we talk about a breakout, you're breaking out of a certain either range or above a certain, here we have ranges and moving averages. So the pre-market activity, again, is listed here. You can see the stock price, percent change of volume. And we have the previous day's range. Did it break out of that range? In this case, it did, Zenus. So if we wanted to filter that, we could use the filters above. So let's just see what that would look like. Let's just say here, a filter, prior day's high-low, right? So pre-market breakout up here, the filters, prior days, high or low. And let's say we want to see a stock that is above the previous day's high. So click on that. And now, let me show you. There are 179 stocks that are doing that out of 11,200 in the pre-market. So 179 stocks here that right now in a pre-market are trading higher than yesterday's range. What about the 52-week high? We could look at that. Maybe based on yesterday's closing prices, if we took the 52-week high low and then compared it to today's pre-market, is it breaking out of that range? So let's try that. And we'll do 52-week high low. And let's say we want it to be above, across the 52-week high. Keep in mind, this is as if we're comparing the pre-market versus yesterday's stats. So we'll cross above 52-week high, click that. And now we narrowed it down to 26. So 26 stocks are doing that. Trading, you can see here, trading above yesterday's range and 52-week high low. Okay. And obviously, if it's already above the 52-week high low, it will go above yesterday's range. Let me remove these filters for now. Let's get back to the original, or we could just hit clear. And what if we wanted to look at stocks that are moving above its 20-day average, 50-day average, and 252-day average? So what this is looking at is wherever the stock was yesterday, did it cross over today, right? So we're looking for like a crossover. So let's say yesterday, wherever the stock closed, it was below the 50-day moving average, and it crossed in the pre-market above. Click on that. So here we go. So NVDL, you can see here 72.07 up 3.4%. Well, the 50-day moving average was 70, right? So let's see. It closed yesterday $69.69, which was right below the 50-day moving average. Then in the pre-market, it crossed above it. So yesterday it was down 8.4, crossed back above it. Okay. If we look at how many of those, there were 26 that did that. Okay. And we could set it for all of them. Moved crossed above the, let's say, 20, crossed above the 250. So now only two of them. So two of them were crossing from below to above on each one of these. Okay. Let's clear that out. So that would be one way to use these filters to narrow down the pre-market trading activity based on these breakouts. So when we look at the pre-market activity, we also may want to filter out based on just the volume that's trading, because if it's very low volume, here, let's see, if it's here's zero volume, but if it's very low volume, it really doesn't matter. If you have 100 shares that traded and nothing else and the markets are wide, you might get a lot of those, and there's not much there, right? Because it's not very active, liquid, or opportunity to trade. No trading going on. So let's say we wanted to, I'm going to come back to the summary here, and maybe we want the total volume to be at least, I don't know, 100,000 shares. So we click on that. So at least 100,000 shares in the pre-market. And you could see here, there are 256 stocks out of 11,200 that are trading at least 100,000 shares in the pre-market hours. Okay. And we might want to narrow that down even more by saying that on a relative basis, it's got to be something above its average. It's trading 100,000, but if it's on average, it trades 500,000, it's not that significant. Maybe I'm looking for some trading activity because trading can present certain opportunities. And we're going to take this relative volume, and let's just say that this has to be 3 times above its average daily volume. So click on that. And now we narrowed it down. Let's take a look at it to 45. So there are 45 stocks that met these filtered conditions. Okay. Some people like small cap stocks, some people like high cap stocks, some people, maybe prefer a minimum price. So let's take a look at that and say, well, I want the price to be above a certain amount or below, but let's just say for our purposes, we want it above $5. We want to look at the penny stocks, so let's just say above $5. Click on that. And now you can see here all the stocks here that are above $5, 18 of them, and meet all these conditions. Relative volume more than 3, total volume over 100,000 in the pre-market hours. What if we wanted to also have a minimum percentage move? right? Like we're really interested in the movers, not just the volume. So maybe we're looking for a certain percentage move in a pre-market. If we're looking for positive moves, we could set a minimum, let's say 3%. So it's got to be moving higher in the pre-market by at least 3% or more. Click on that. Okay, so now we narrowed it down to 9 candidates. Now we have 9 candidates that met these 4 conditions. And maybe we want to look at stocks that are trading up and showing strength that they're currently still above the day's VWAP, pre-market VWAP, right? So here you can see this is trading at 1033, but currently it's below the pre-market VWAP by 4.6%. So maybe, it's coming down. Let's see if any of them are trading above the VWAP, right? So traded a lot and it's continuing to move higher above that daily VWAP. So we could do this, price versus VWAP. And let's say we wanted any positive, anything above the day's pre-market VWAP. Click on that. Okay, so here we go. Now we have, let's slide down here, 4. So only 4 of these stocks met all these 5 conditions that we set. Okay. Now we could keep going further, but we only have 4 of them, so we could stop there to analyze. And here we could also see that a lot of them have news on them. So you could read the headlines here, and if you click on it, it'll take you to that article that we detected. Okay. If you like these filters, let's say you like the filters and this is the screener that you would want to come back to, you could hit here, save new preset, and just give it a name, pre-market, upside, breakout, whatever you want to call it. Right? Just so you remember somehow. And if you hit save preset, what this allows you to do is clear it out. And let's say tomorrow you come back and what was that? What was that preset that I saved? It was really interesting. I want to look it up again. You come into here, pre-market upside breakout, click it. It autofills those filters that you saved, and it will show you for the most current screener what is available or what meets those conditions. And so I'm going to clear that out. And over here, a couple more things that allow you to filter for is if you're looking for stocks that we detected some news or we haven't detected news, you could use this filter and say it does have news. Yes. By using that, you could see, it's moving and on potentially what did this stock announce? Our platform offers a lot of options analytics. A lot of our customers use that for options. So if you wanted to look for stocks in a pre-market that also have listed options, you could just set this to true as options, and it will filter out only stocks that are trading in a pre-market that also have options listed on the exchange. Earnings date, sometimes, we have customers that like to trade specifically around earnings. That's the strategy. That's what they're good at. They understand earnings and volatility and the movements. And so when you have those strategies and you're looking for stocks that are moving either, it could be around earnings, right before earnings, or coming out after earnings, or earnings are coming up in a certain amount of days, you could use this filter here to look for stocks, that announce earnings before open, yesterday, tomorrow they'll announce it after close, coming up in the next 7 days if it reported yesterday, and so forth. Market cap, that's self-explanatory. If you're looking for high market cap or low market cap, shares outstanding, you could set a minimum or over a certain amount. If certain people look for very low float stocks, some people look for very high float. So you could use that over here. And same thing with the float. These are outstanding shares. This is the float. You could set these filters. For example, where if there's very low float, let me see here, under 100 million, then it'll give you shares outstanding under 100 million or float under 100 million. So that's how you could use these filters. And once you have something you like, you could just save it. You could save, multiple filtered. You could have a breakout screener, and you could have a low float screener, right? And then you save it, give it a name, and the next day you come back and you want to really quickly just see what's going on in the pre-market hours that met your conditions. Just pull up your existing preset filter, and really quickly you'll be able to see which stocks meet these conditions. So we're right there. So I'm going to stop there. I think, we pretty much covered this pre-market screener.
Great job, D. Thanks so much. Thanks for everyone for joining and coming in a little, well, actually it's 15 minutes earlier today to get me off to the dentist for emergency operation. With that, D, great job as always. We will be on tomorrow for our regular scheduled pre-market webinar, 9 a.m. Eastern time.